Hello everyone, good evening. Apologies there if you just saw me pop up. I had a little technical issue, but I'm here. Everything's working. So hopefully we are good to go now. Good evening. I hope you have all had a lovely Sunday. I'm just getting this live up on my iPad so that I can make sure I don't miss any of your comments. Sometimes my phone has a funny 5 minutes when it comes to comments. So, hello, welcome. If you are here, please let me know in the comments. Say hi. Please let me know if you can hear me okay. And yeah, I'm really excited to be with you for the next roughly 45 minutes, showing you my reverse glitter technique with not just one glitter, but double glitter, because we can never have too much glitter, can we? So for those of you who are joining, who maybe don't know me, my name is Jojo. I am one half of the owners of Elegance UK, but I'm also a nail pro with nearly 20 years experience, and I've been with Ellie now for around about, I think I started using their products around 8 years ago, and I became an educator around 7 years ago. And many of you will know my story, that I found the brand because I became allergic to basically everything. And I found a brand that I could use, but it didn't really give me the creativity that I was used to having previously. And I didn't feel satisfied in my work. And I was on the verge of giving up, in all honesty. And then Elegance came into my life. Someone recommended it to me, and I have never, ever looked back. The products have never failed me since, and yeah, I've been completely obsessed and completely hooked since I found them. So, and here we are. Someone's saying they can't hear me, but I think everybody else can. Yeah, other people are saying they can hear. So if you can't hear me, your volume must be down. I don't know what to say. Right, so without further ado, I am going to... Someone else is saying they can't hear me. Okay, people are saying they can hear, so I don't know why some people can't. Maybe they've just got their volume down. I don't know what to say. Okay, right, we're going to get started. I'm going to flip the camera around, and we can get going with our double glitter reverse French. Please, as I work, let me know if you've got any questions, put them into the comments, and as I work and things are in the lamp curing, I can come back to you and answer any questions that you may have, whether it's technique related to what I'm doing now, or if you have any other questions about Light Elegance whatsoever, then ask away. I'm here to help you. You've got me for the next 45 minutes, so take advantage. Okay, so I'm just going to arrange myself so that we are ready to go and you can see everything clearly. Perfect. Right. So this is what I am going to be sharing with you today. So it's this reverse French with a glitter tip, and we also have a glitter fade at the base. Everything's nice and sleek. The free edge is nice and thin. We have a nice apex structure, but nothing looks thick and bulky. And this is my favourite thing about reverse French, is that because it's all encapsulated, it keeps everything looking really sleek without being bulky. So we're going to recreate this, and I've also purposefully done it on a length that isn't super long. So if I show you from the back, you can see it's a very wearable length that a lot of clients will wear in the salon. I feel like with reverse French, it's really easy to do it on a longer length, but then when we get confronted with doing it in the salon on a shorter length, it feels a lot more intimidating because we don't have as much space to play with. Do we know where to kind of put the smile line and all that kind of stuff? So I'm going to cover all of that with you. I'm going to be working on this nail here today. Just a disclaimer, full transparency. I do have a bit of onycholysis on this nail. This is the side of allergies that no one speaks about. And that is that once you've had an allergy, your nail beds are much weaker, and therefore you are more likely to suffer with nail separation if you catch your nails, which I have done on this one. I caught the nail and it has pulled away from the nail bed. So this is one of the reasons that I have to keep my nails fairly short now. I would actually have taken it shorter, but because I'm doing this demo for you today, we're gonna roll with it. It will be absolutely fine, and I know myself, I know my nails, it will just grow out. It was partly my fault for catching it, but yeah, just so that you are aware of why that is. I don't want anyone looking at it thinking that it's the product, because it's not. It's having previously been allergic. Sadly, the nail beds, for some people I'm sure they do fully recover, but for me they never really fully, they just seem a bit weaker. That's the only way I can really describe it. So this now is fully prepped. I'm just removing the shine a little bit from that base area. I have got some gel left over on the remainder of the nail, where I had my last manicure on there. So you can kind of see a little bit of the product, but not too much. You can see more of a line back there. But I've filed it nice and thin so that we can do our product application on the top. And I'm just going to give my nail a really, really good scrub. So I'm making sure I'm getting all rid of the oils and the debris from the nail. And then I'll also just fold my wipe around my finger so that I can just take that around the cuticle area, make sure we've got nothing caught there, and also under that free edge. So we've got a completely clean nail surface ready to go. So our first application is going to be our bonder. I'm going to be using tack today. You can also use Air Bond or Vitaprime before you do this step. I normally do use Air Bond. I just forgot to bring it home. It's in the salon, so I'm using tack alone. Air Bond is really great for us Brits because even though it's cold, our climate is actually quite humid. We have a lot of moisture in our environment from all this hideous rain that we've been having. So Air Bond basically makes the nails super dry, and the nail's less likely to be as dry as we want it to be when the environment is more humid. So we like to help it along. But I forgot it today, so I'm just going to go straight in with my tack. So I've applied a nice thin layer. You can still see the texture of the nail through it. This is exactly what you're looking for. You want to make sure that you've got those sides. So if you are someone that finds that you get any chipping or lifting at the sides of the nail, just make sure that your tack application is completely covering those areas. Because we are making it super thin, it's really easy to miss the sides, and then the gel that we apply on the top doesn't adhere as well. So I'm going to put that into the light for 30 seconds. And I'll just have a scroll through, see if we have some. So would you normally use Air Bond and then tack? Yes. So Air Bond is it's just an air dried, kind of more of like a primer, just very watery. You just apply it to the cleansed nail. By the time you've applied it to all 10 nails, it will be fully dried and you can go ahead with your tack application. So I am going to apply a base layer of Ideal Pink Builder. I find Builder is a really good base layer for me because it is a fairly flexible gel. And for me, I just find that that balance of flexibility and strength works really well for me. So I'm going to use Ideal Pink. This is going to give us our initial base layer for our reverse French. I'm actually not going to make my reverse French with Ideal Pink. I'm going to use something else. But this is just going to give it a slight hint of pink for that base layer. So I'm using my number 4 flat brush for this layer. This is like my new favourite for my base layer of gel, especially when I'm doing a technique like this. So I've applied most of the gel through the centre. I'm then going to take it down the sides, and then I'm going to flip my brush so that I have barely any product on the back of the brush, and I'm going to apply the thinnest layer that I can possibly apply around that cuticle area. What I don't want to do is create a thick base layer. I'm then going to apply glitter, and then when you finish file, what happens is you end up filing through the glitter and you end up with a big gap at the bottom. So using a flat brush just gives you a bit more control with your pressure around this area, I find. So number 4 flat is my new favourite for my base layer. So you can see it's super, super thin. It's just giving that nice base for everything else to go on top of. I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds. So all of the Lexiline gels cure for 60 seconds, whether you're using Builder or any of the others from the Lexiline range. I'm going to pop that to the side, and our next step is going to be our first glitter. And I'm going to be using this one. This is Save Water Drink Tequila. This was in last year's summer collection, and it's honestly one of my absolute favourite glitters. I used it a lot when it came out, but I've also used it a lot since as well, kind of going into the winter time. It's been really popular. I love it on its own without a base. It just creates a really beautiful sheer, I mean, it's not natural looking because it's glitter, but it just creates that glitter that it just catches the light and people are like, oh, what have you got on your nails? It just, because it's not super bold. But yeah, I love it. I'll open it in a second when I've got a free hand. It also looks great over like any colour. You can put it over anything and it looks amazing. So here we have Save Water Drink Tequila. These transparent glitters that you can just use in so many different ways are really my favourite at the moment and have been for the last year or two. So you can see it's got so many colours in it that depending on what colour you put underneath or whether you choose to put any colour underneath, it's going to look different every single time. So I've given it just a little brief stir, nothing too crazy because we don't want to put air bubbles in there, but we just want to make sure that the top surface is nicely mixed. They stay really well mixed, but sometimes what happens is the very surface, you end up with a little bit more of that clear base, and we want to make sure that this is super concentrated so that we get the best payoff around that cuticle area. We want it nice and dense around there without having to use a really thick layer. I am going to use my gel polish brush. I have several of these, so I have several for different types of colours, shimmers, whites, dark colours. This one is my glitter brush. As you can see, I've just dunked it in a glitter and cured it in the light so I can see really easily what brush that is. I have taken a small amount of Save Water Drink Tequila. And let's face it, the name's flipping great as well. I love it. So just gently placing that around the cuticle area. So I'm just kind of using a pat-in movement. The gel kind of stays in contact with my brush as I do that, so it flows around that cuticle area. So this is what we have at the moment. And then with the brush on its side, I'm going to use the side of the brush and just tap it where the glitter meets the rest of the nail bed. Bring it up a little bit and then bring it down a little bit. And this is going to create a bit of a fade. Now, because we're going to apply a layer of a somewhat kind of covering gel, we don't have to make this fade super perfect because it's going to camouflage it anyway. What we really want to make sure is that we have a really nice line of glitter around that cuticle area, because that is where the glitter is going to be seen the most. So I'm just using the very tip of my brush just to move that glitter into place so that I've got that nice coverage around the cuticle area. And if you do find it tricky to get around with the gel polish brush, you can use a small detailer brush to get a little bit closer Let me just find... So you could just come in with a little detailer brush and just move it, and you can get even closer then to the skin, of course, without touching. The main thing is that we do not want this glitter to come too far up so that it ends up just blending into the rest of the nail bed area. We want to aim for it to reach around about halfway, so we get that really nice fade, but without it overtaking the whole nail. I do have a bit of gel that's just touching my skin, so I'm going to use the number 1 stylus. This is like a dotting tool, but it has no ball on the end of it. It just comes to a soft point, and this is my go-to for removing that gel from the skin. I'm going to pop this into the light. Our glitter gels cure in 30 seconds in our LED dot lamp and the mini dot. Do we have some questions? It's like bee in your bonnet with a blue tinge. Yes, I would say bee in your bonnet, the size of the particles are very similar. Bee in your bonnet is like a pink base with golden reflex in it, whereas Safe Water Drink Tequila is more of a slight blue base, but what that means is it just neutralizes everything underneath it. It doesn't actually look blue, but it's got multicolored reflex in it, so any color you can possibly think of. This is just a little sample pot size I have here just at home, so I didn't bring my big pot that I use in the salon, but this is Delicate Peach Builder, and this one, if you notice the difference between the pink and the peach, the pink is Ideal Pink is obviously much pinker, and Delicate Peach is much more of like a warm peachy shade. Ideal Pink has been my go-to for years. Since it was launched, I've used this for every type of French, but I've recently just been navigating more towards the colours that are less pink. Think more as we've gone through the winter, I've had a lot of like dryness in my skin, and my skin has had a little bit more redness to it, and I just find that the pink doesn't do me any favours. So we're going with the peach at the moment, and I'm actually really enjoying it. The reason that I did Ideal Pink underneath is it just takes it a little bit less peachy. It just gives it a slight bit more of a pink undertone without it being pink. It still is very much peach, but if you find that Delicate Peach on its own is a little bit too peachy and too warm for you, I would suggest either using Ideal Pink, or if you still find that's too warm, use a coat of Cover Pink One Step, because that's even more cool toned. I'm going to take my number 4 oval brush, and to begin with, I'm just going to take a really, really small amount of this Delicate Peach and create somewhat of a slip layer. I don't want a slip layer anywhere where the smile line is going to be. I really just want it in this back half, so that as I create that reverse smile line, it blends into the nail bed area. I don't want to cover the glitter completely, so I'm going to leave a slight margin around that cuticle area. So you can see I'm not covering all of that glitter. We want it to shine through, and just creating some nice smooth strokes there. So I've probably covered about a half of the nail, but not the bottom half and not the top kind of 3/4. I'm then going to take a larger dollop of gel and I'm going to roll this off where I want my smile line to be. So for me, my aim is that my smile line will hit the tip of my finger and no lower. I don't want this glitter tip to end up being thick. I want it to stay quite high, and I'd rather have a slightly thinner tip because it just looks more aesthetically pleasing. It makes the nail bed look naturally much longer and sleeker, gives the illusion that the nail is slimmer. So I'm pushing that gel to create like a wall situation. I'm going to push it in the middle, and then I'm going to push it out to the side and bring it down to where I want that corner point of the smile line to be. I can feel I've got a little bit too much gel on my brush. Not very much too much, but too much. So I'm just going to wipe off the excess off my brush. I'm going to reattach my brush to the gel. And again, I'm going to go from the middle. So I'm going to push in the middle, push outwards towards that corner point of the smile line. This is easier on a person because I cannot push my skin back very easily, and that's the key really. You need to be able to push that client's skin back so that you can get that gel right to that corner point. I'm then going to lightly feather the gel back and then flip my brush to the normal way and blend it back up towards myself to create that nice blend. And if you feel like you've got some gel on your brush, you can just use the frosting technique to just blend that gel up towards that smile line. I'm hoping that you're not getting too much glare. I feel like possibly the black gloves is creating a bit of a glare. I'm going to clean my brush off, so just in a dry wipe, so I have no gel on there. I'm going to start at the corner of the smile line, and I'm going to carve that smile line in so it's even sharper. Wipe it off between that wipe again. It will feel like there's not much product on there, but we want to make sure that there is no excess gel on that brush. We want to make sure the corner points are hitting the same point on both sides. So start at that corner point and then swipe. We call this the squeegee technique. So you're kind of squeegeeing that gel away from the nail. Then I always like to look at it from the client point of view, and as you can see, it actually looks on a massive wonk. So it's going off to the left. This is really important, so don't just rely on your point of view. Always turn the hand around to make sure that your smile line looks straight to your client, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be looking at it for the next 3 to 4 weeks. I'm going to swipe that clean again, and I'm just going to flip it back to my view and make sure that it looks nice and smooth. So I can see it's a little bit uneven at the top here, so I'm just going to carve that out, and then I'm just finishing with that tail of gel on that wall of the gel, and this is what we have. The reason that I've used Builder for this is you can see it does not move. It stays exactly where you put it. And this is how you can create a reverse French, even on a short nail, without having to file the smile line in. So I'm not going to file the smile line in. I am just going to let my brush do the work. The most important thing is that you have enough of a wall to put your product up to. So I'm quite happy with that now. It looks nice and even. I've got a nice wall of product there. So I'm going to put this into the light, and this is going to cure for 60 seconds. Let's have a look and see if we've got some questions. Would pears and pastries be similar? No. Honestly, no. Pears and pastries, the glitter is much finer, much smaller, and it's kind of more one tone because it's more of that bluey purple tone for it, whereas yeah, Safe Water and Tequila, it's many colours, and the pieces are slightly chunkier so they catch the light more, I would say. My nail's nice and cured, and I'm now going to use a base colour before I apply my glitter. So I'm going to use Cactus Makes Perfect for the glitter, which is this amazing turquoisey green with like aqua flecks in it. If you know me at all, you'll know me that these are my colours completely. So I've just picked a colour that kind of matches the base of this. Cactus Makes Perfect, you can make either more green or more blue. So I've gone with Holy Habanero, which is kind of somewhere in between. It's slightly more green, which again, you know I love the green, so I've made it a tad bit more green, but you can play with the tone to make it fit what you like or what your client likes. And I'm going to use my Smarline brush. So this is an angled brush, and I'm going to use this with our Holy Habanero, and the buttercreams are amazing for this because you only need a really thin layer and you get a nice colour payoff. We don't want anything that's going to add any bulkiness because we don't want to see the colour. This is just a base to give us a really crisp effect around the smile line. If you just go in with the glitter, what can happen is when you file, it ends up with tiny little gaps around the smile line area because glitter is kind of pieces, and you end up with clear bits in between those pieces, and it just doesn't look as crisp and sharp. So I'm using my Smarline brush just to push the gel up to that wall that I've made with my Delicate Peach. I'm just going to pick up a tiny bit more. I just do this a little bit at a time, so try not to add too much to your brush to begin with, because you can always add as you go, and it's easier to add at this stage than it is to apply too much and then try and take it off. So I'm just going to have a look from the other side, make sure that it looks like it's nicely covering. I'm not worried about covering the entire free edge because we're going to cover it with glitter. I just want to make sure I've got that nice crisp line around the smile line. I'm going to put that into the light. That will cure for 30 seconds. And then we'll be ready for our second glitter. Let's see if we have any more questions. I feel I need to get the summer collection in the buttercreams and the Potts glitters. I have it in P+, but now I want it all. Well, I think you should. And we do actually, weirdly enough, we do have some packs of the summer collection from last year, because our initial order when we launched like Elegance UK, we did it just as the summer collection was launching, but it took so long to get to us that we've ended up with a lot of the summer collection. So if you don't have these colours or glitters, then grab them now, because you make a saving anyway by buying the pack, but then you also get you 20% off with the online trade show discount. And once those packs have gone, they obviously won't be restocked because they are like a slightly older collection. For my glitter application, I'm going back to my #1 stylus, which is the dotting tool without a little ball on the end. And this is so great for applying glitter. It just makes it so easy for the smile line, because you can get right in the corners because you've got the kind of pointy end of the stylus. And I just feel like you have a little bit more control with it than trying to use a brush. I feel if I use a fine liner brush, I can't get colour payoff or glitter payoff very quickly with it. But when I use a stylus, I can cover the area more quickly, but I can still get to those corners more easily than, you know, like a bigger brush or even the Smile Line brush, and I don't have to worry about, you know, getting glitter stuck in a nail art brush that I like to use for fine line work. And it just makes it super easy. I did get a little bit of glitter on the skin just there, so I'm going to wipe my number one stylus off on a wipe and just remove that from the skin. So you can see that was super easy to apply. I cannot recommend the number one stylus enough for things like this. It just makes the job so easy. I'm going to put that into cure. Again, that will cure for 30 seconds. And then we're going to seal all of this in with a clear gel. So I'm going to use cool gel today. If you are somewhere that is warmer or you prefer a thicker viscosity, then I would suggest going for Extreme. Extreme's really nice and clear, and cool gel is also really nice and clear, but it is more of a thinner viscosity, which I prefer, especially in our winter time, because Extreme doesn't move very much. So I like cool gel for this method. I'm going to take a dollop of gel and I'm going to apply it all over the nails. So I'm encasing that gel at the base. So making sure I cover right round the sides, and make sure that you really push that gel into that free edge, because we've got this difference in height. Sometimes if you just float the gel over, you end up with gaps where the slip layer hasn't reached, and then when you apply your next amount of gel, it ends up causing air bubbles and it doesn't self-level very well. I'm going to take another dollop of gel. I'm going to roll it off, and I'm just going to push that down towards the cuticle area and then drag the gel to the tip. The middle part of the nail, because we've got that delicate peach builder there, doesn't need very much product. So we want to fill that dip between the builder and the glitter, and just make sure that we've got enough product on that apex area. So you can see we have a little bit of flatness at the back there. So I'm going to pour some gel back. The delicate peach is a little bit high, so don't let that deceive you, and don't put too much product in that apex area, because when we finish file, that will bring that height down at the smile line. You can flip the nail upside down if you like to. That will just help to bring the gel into that apex area if you feel that it's running away from you. And I feel like that is going to look fine. I know it looks a bit crazy at the moment, but once we finish filed, trust the process, it will be all good. So I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds, and then I can put all my gels away because we are done with our application. How does cool gel compare to One Step in viscosity? It is a little bit thicker than One Step. The reason that I don't use One Step for this is that One Step has a slight, ever so slight yellow tint, which on most colours you won't see, but I'm just in the habit of, if I encase anything, I always use cool gel or Extreme, because I just know that they're not going to do anything to any of the colours that I apply underneath it. But yeah, cool gel is a little bit thicker than One Step. It's somewhere between One Step and Extreme. Oh, we've got a comment here from TCI Nails Mobile. She says, I'm mobile, so I've ordered my faves today in 10mm. That is great to hear. We love the 10mm. They make it so much easier to try new things. They are great, like you say, for mobile. It also means that you don't take up so much room in your drawers, because if you're like us, you've got so many that you end up with just drawers and drawers. Whereas if you've got the 10mm, it's just so much easier to manage your stock. And we're getting, you know, the refill sizes of things, so it just means that you can refill your small 10mls, make a saving by getting the refills, but you've got the practical side of just having it in that 10mm pot. Right, I've put all my brushes away because I do not want to get dust in my brushes. I'm going to cleanse this nail. We want to make sure that we remove that sticky inhibition layer. So I'm using my Ele Pro cleanser with an Ele Pro cleansing wipe. If you do not know about these cleansing wipes, get to know, because they are the best. They are truly lint free. They are super strong. They do not break, and they have this texture to them, which means that you get kind of like a dual action when you cleanse. Not only is the cleanser cleansing, but the texture of the wipe just really helps to be super efficient when it comes to removing sticky inhibition layers, when it comes to cleansing the natural nail before application, whatever it is. The combination of that cleanser and the wipe is a match made in heaven. So we're going to finish file. I have my two favourite files here. I have the Lexi file 180-240 and I have the finish file 180-220. These are my absolute go-tos for any type of filing. I'm going to use my finish file and I'm going to use the 180 grit side to file my free edge first. So angling my file underneath around about 45 degrees, I'm going to file that free edge so that we get roughly a credit card thickness. And then starting at the corner of the smile line, I'm going to file up towards the middle of that free edge. We're going for something in between an oval and an almond, so not quite as pointy as an almond. And then I can move on to my Lexi file. I'm going to use the 180 grit side, and I'm going to start with the sidewalls. So I'm bringing the sidewalls in. We should not have too much product at the sides to file, and obviously you want to make sure that we're not filing the corner points of the smile line away. If your base layer is thin enough, then this won't be an issue anyway. If you find that when you get to this stage you end up filing through your corner points, then your base layer was too thick in this area and you need to use less product for your base layer. I'm then coming across the free edge. I'm filing away from myself so that I'm not taking too much product from that free edge. If you file towards yourself, what tends to happen is we file down and then we round off this end, so we want to make sure that it's nice and crisp. So just filing across from one side to the other. Have a look down the barrel, make sure it's even from one side to the other. And then when you've got it nice and even from that angle, you can have a look from the side. So we can see that we still have a little bit too much height here. So I'm going to file this part here. Same movement again, just following that motion from side to side, but focusing my pressure over that area of the nail. And you can see already we've brought that back. So we've got now the majority of the thickness at the apex coming through the stress area and then down towards the free edge. I'm then coming around the cuticle area. Take care around here that you're not being too heavy-handed with your filing. You should find that it's nice and thin in that area anyway, so it doesn't need loads of filing. And of course we don't want to end up filing all of that glitter away. And then I like to have a look at it from my different angles. So I'll look at it from the side. I still feel like it's maybe a bit heavy just here, so I'm going to file just very lightly. I'm not using any pressure on my file, and that's looking nicer. Have a look at it down the barrel. Have a look at it from the other side, which is always difficult on yourself. Wearing black gloves is really helpful for this because it really allows you, if you pop your glove behind the nail, you can really see the shape of the structure and see if there's anywhere that you need to make any alterations. And then I also like to check from the back view because it really highlights if there's any thickness at the sides of the nail. So that's all looking pretty good. And then I'll just use my finger to run across that surface, and if there's any little bumps left, I then switch to my 240 grit and very lightly just use the file to almost buff those out. Have a look at it from that way. So I feel like it's a little bit too rounded at the moment. So I'm gonna just bring that shape in a little bit more. That's looking better. That's exactly how I like it. And then I'll use my finish file again because I can get right in underneath that sidewall. And again, just give that another little file underneath. I always recommend, if you find that you file these sidewalls away, tilt the client's finger and file under that free edge rather than filing into it from the side. If you file in from the side, you're going to take that sidewall away. So by going underneath that lower arch, we can see exactly what shape we're creating in that lower arch, and we're not taking anything away from the corners. You can then take your foamy, the best buffer there is, and give that a little buff. I'm using the 180 grit side. I find that this removes scratches, but it still leaves enough grip on the nail that the top coat adheres perfectly. I'm going to take this glove off because it's got dust all over it. So we'll get rid of those gloves and get rid of that one, and then we can apply our top coat. So you can use any of the top coats. We've obviously got our P+ top coat. It is a gel polish top coat, but you can use it over a hard gel if you want to. We also have Super Shiny, which is our classic hard gel top coat, super shiny as the name would suggest, and it has a sticky inhibition layer. Or we have our newly formulated top gloss, which is my new favourite because it just eliminates the step of having to remove the sticky inhibition layer once I've finished. So I've cleansed that nail, so we've got rid of all of the dust, and I'm going to apply a nice layer of top gloss. Is it not the best thing ever when you finish file a nail with glitter and then you put the top coat on? Just getting nice and close to the cuticle without touching. Come in round the side, using the corner of that brush to come round the side of the nail. Push up towards that cuticle area so that we're really sealing in all of that glitter. And then just some nice smoothing strokes all the way through the body of the nail. And there we have our double glitter reverse French. So I'm going to put that into the light. Top gloss and all of our top coats cure for 60 seconds. So really easy to remember. And I'm going to see what questions we have, because I feel like I've been yabbering on and not actually answering questions. So any tips on using Builder? I can use all the others, no problem, but Builder just seems to go Pete Tong. So Builder does take a bit of practice. It requires a different technique than all of the other gels because it is a non-self-leveling gel. If you do find it tricky, one thing you can do, if you use our buttercreams and you use the agitation technique where we manipulate the surface of the gel with the brush, you can do the same with Builder, and it makes it's still not self-leveling, and you still need to, like if I can put my teeth in, you still need to move the gel into place, but it finishes much smoother than if you don't manipulate the surface. if you're creating a reverse French, you don't want the product to move, then I would not recommend agitating the surface of the gel, because it will make it relax slightly and you want to keep that nice sharp wall. But yeah, it takes a little bit of a different technique. You kind of, let me see if I can just show you on my thumb just over the top of what I've got, just so that you can see the kind of motion that we're talking about. So when you do a self-leveling gel, you're obviously you apply it and the gel kind of does all the work for you. So we can use that brush to manipulate the surface of the gel. Can you see it just automatically makes it much more fluid, and it's going to be much more forgiving. So I would roll that gel off. The key really is using a very, very light touch. So you're just guiding the gel rather than pushing it, and just allowing it to flow into place. So I'm using what we call the frosting technique, which is kind of little circular movements over the surface of the nail to gradually move that product. And you can kind of use very light strokes across that free edge to bring it forward. And then you would, obviously this nail's got gel on it already, so it does look quite thick. It's never going to look as smooth as if you use something else from the Lexiline range, but it will give you a fairly smooth finish that will be super easy to finish file. And that is the one thing with Builder I'd say, is that it's super easy to file. So as long as you follow that technique and agitate that gel first, you should find it easier, and then your finish filing should be a breeze. What time are we on? It is 6:48. I'm just going to see if there's any other questions that I can help with before I go. I will just put some cuticle oil on. So I'm going to use the Ellie Pro cuticle oil. Just apply, and why not give my other nails some love. Rub that in while I see if there's any other questions. This looks very time consuming. How long would a full set of this technique usually take? I mean, yes, it was going to take you longer than a standard set. Obviously it's taken me longer because I've done it on one nail and I'm curing in between each step on one nail, which is going to make it much longer. If I was doing this in the salon, I would probably add another half an hour, but my clients know, and this is something that you really need to kind of it's a conversation with clients to make sure that they're aware that if they want something more than a basic colour, that they need to let you know. They can't just ask for it on the day, and that it does cost them more, just like with anything else. So it would take me about another half an hour, but I would charge accordingly for that half an hour. So as long as your clients are aware, then the time shouldn't be an issue, because your client's paying you for that time. They just need to tell you in advance so that you can block the time out for them. Philip says, I feel all French takes me longer. French does take longer. That's just, it's not as easy as just applying a colour. So it's always going to take a bit longer, but you just need to make sure that you're charging for that time. I think a big thing is that a lot of people don't charge enough for those add-ons. So even if you charge quite well for the rest of your services, but then say for instance you only charge £5 extra for a French, but it takes you an extra 20 minutes, then you're not really earning enough to cover that extra time. So please make sure that you're charging what you need to for those extras as well. And if clients want it, then they'll pay for it. And if you want to practice something, so for me, if I want to practice something and it is something that costs more, I'll do a special rate for the period of maybe a month so that I can get lots of practice in that way I also get lots of content that I can put on my social media that then will entice other people to try it. But then after that month, they know that if they want it, they're going to pay X amount instead of their reduced rate that we had for a month. But I feel like that is like a whole other topic. Anyone who has done any training with me, if you get me started on pricing, I could just talk for hours, because as we all know, in the UK, it's not great for most people. So maybe I'll do another live just about that. Right, so we do have another question. One last question. If you were using the Zippy, which Z-bit would you recommend to do this part of the finish filing? I'll be honest, I do not use my Zippy to finish file. I don't find it saves me any time, because it files so easily, and you shouldn't have enough bulk on the nail in order to need to use your Zippy for finish filing. You can use the shaper bit, you can use the smoothie bit, but they still don't make the nail smooth like a file does, which means that you still have to go in and finish it with a 240 grit file, and then you're foamy. So for me, I find it takes longer. So I would always tend to finish file with a hand file, because it's quicker, and like I say, you shouldn't have loads of product to take down anyway. If you have a lot of product to take down, then yes, by all means, use the shaper bit to reduce that bulk. But yeah, I find hand files are efficient enough, shall we say. So I'm going to leave you all to it. You have Mandy next, I believe, at 7 p.m. She'll be showing you her techniques for marble nail art with P+ gel polish. So we're very excited for that. And then we've also got Connie at 8 p.m. tonight. She'll be showing us her tortoiseshell techniques. We have 3 more tomorrow, but that's our lineup for tonight. So thank you so much for joining me. We will see you at 7 p.m. with Mandy. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.